progress report says we are at stage 5, paragraph page 328. Stage 5, 328. And our last headword was if I were. Full stage revision. Okay, so let me just scroll down and let's start with our revision. Ready?
Okay.
Okay, let me just check if I were. Okay, here we go. Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Can we use the expression if I were you to give advice to somebody? Yes, we can use
We
the
can use
expression if I were you
if I were
to
you
give advice to somebody.
to give advice somebody.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. If I were you, I
If I
would
were you,
eat more vegetables,
more vegetables.
or I wouldn't buy that
I
car
wouldn't buy a car
if I were you.
if I were you.
Very good. What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? What's the biggest problem in your life at the moment? The biggest problem
The biggest problem
in my life at the moment
in my life at the moment
is
is money.
money. Very good. Me too. Okay. Give me an advice. Give me an advice, please. If I were you,
If I were you,
I would.
I would
What would I
work.
do? I would work very
Work
hard.
hard.
Very good. What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? What's another opposite of the verb lose besides find? Another opposite
Another opposite
of the verb lose
of the verb lose
besides find is win.
because fine is bent.
What are the three forms of win? What are the three forms of win? The three forms of win
The three forms of win
are win, one, one.
of being one.
Does your country usually win at football? Does your country usually win at football? Yes or no?
Yes,
My country
my
usually
country
wins at football.
usually wins at football.
Very good. Do you do the lottery? Do you do the lottery? Yes or no?
No,
I don't do the lottery.
I don't do the lottery.
Okay, very good. If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If you won £1 million, what would you do with it? If I won
If
a
I
million
won
pounds,
£1 million,
I would
I would
buy
um,
Okinawa.
buy Okinawa.
Right? Very good. Is this pen useless? Is this pen useless? No, that pen
No,
isn't
the pen
useless.
isn't useless.
It's useful.
It's useful.
Very good. What do we do with useless things? What do we do with useless things? We throw useless
We
things
throw
away.
useless things away.
What are the two most useful things you possess? What are the two most useful things you possess? The two most
The two most
useful things I
useful
possess
things
are
I possess are
my smartphone
my smartphone
and my PC.
and my PC.
Very good. Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Do you think that what you're learning now will be useful to you later on in life? Yes, I think that
Yes, I
what
think that
I'm learning now
what I'm
will
learning
be
now
useful to me
will be
later
useful
on
to me
in life.
later on in life
Why? Why do you think so? Because it will help
because
me get
it will
work
help me get work
and speak to people
and speak to people
from other countries.
from other countries.
Very good. Okay, next, what's the contraction of I would? What's the contraction of I would? The contraction of
The
I would
construction
is
of
I.
iron is I.
What are the contractions of you would, he would, she would, etc.? What are the contractions of you would, he would, and she would? The contraction of
The
you would,
construction
he would,
of you'd,
and she would
you'd,
are
and she'd
you'd,
are
he'd,
you'd,
and she'd.
he'd, and she'd.
Where if you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If you went to the cinema this evening, which film would you see? If I went to the
If I went
cinema this
to
evening,
the cinema this
I'd
evening,
see
I'd see
which one? Top Gun or Titanic.
Gone.
Very good. If
Gone.
I were you, which language would I speak? If I were you, which language would I speak? If you were me,
If you were
you'd
me,
speak Japanese.
you'd speak Japanese.
If a plant had no water, would it die? If a plant had no water, would it die? Yes. If a plant
Yes,
had no
if a plant
water,
had no
it'd
water,
die.
it's die.
Wait, what's the construction of bookwood? What's the construction of bookwood? The construction of
The
bookwood
construction
is
of
booked.
bookwood is booked.
What's the construction of lesson wood? What's the construction of lesson wood? The construction of
The
lesson wood
construction of
is
lesson
lessened.
is lessened.
What's the construction of who would? What's the construction of who would? The construction of
The
who would
construction
is
of
hood.
food is food.
What's the construction of what would? What's the construction of what would? The construction of
The
what would
construction
is
of
whatted.
water is water.
What's the construction of which would? What's the construction of which would? The construction of which would
The construction of witches
is witched.
is witches.
Right? If you were a queen, what would your husband be called? If you were a queen, what would your husband be called? If I were a queen,
If I was
my
queen,
husband be called
my
a
husband
king.
be called a king.
If you lost your way in a large city, who do you ask? If you lost your way in a large city, who do you ask? If I lost my way
If I lost my way
in a large city,
in a large
I'd
city,
ask a policeman.
I discuss policeman.
If today were Sunday, what would tomorrow be? If today were Sunday, what would tomorrow be? If today were
If
Sunday,
today were Sunday,
tomorrow'd be Monday.
it will be Monday.
Very good. When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? When office workers are too busy to leave their desk for lunch, do they often just have a quick sandwich? Yes. When
Yes.
office workers
When an office
are
worker
too busy to
are too
leave
busy
their desk
to leave
for lunch,
and desk for lunch,
they often just have
they often just
a
have
quick sandwich.
a quick sandwich.
What kind of things do we put in sandwiches? What kind of things do we put in sandwiches? We put meat,
We
cheese,
put meat,
egg,
cheese,
etc.
egg,
in
etc.
sandwiches.
in sandwiches.
Very good. What's your biggest fault? What's your biggest fault? My biggest fault is
My biggest fault is
what was your biggest? I eat too much.
too much.
Very good. If you if your computer was faulty, what how would you know how to fix the fault? If your computer was faulty, would you know how to fix the fault? Yes or no?
Yes,
If my computer
in my
was
computer,
faulty,
well, for me,
I'd know
I know
how to fix the fault.
how to fix the fault.
Are your dictations usually faultless? Are your dictations usually faultless? Yes or no? No?
Yes, no,
Yeah.
no.
No, my dictations
My dictations
aren't usually faultless.
are usually faultless.
Very good. Okay, if a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student makes a mistake in his dictation, is it usually his fault or the teacher's fault? If a student
If a student
makes a mistake
makes a mistake
in his dictation,
in his dictation,
it's usually his fault,
and usually his fault,
but it could sometimes be
but it could sometimes be
the teacher's fault.
the teacher's fault.
Very good. Okay, what can we say instead of okay? What can we say instead of okay? Instead of okay,
Instead of okay,
we can say all right.
we can say all right.
Very good. Can we compare Michelangelo with Napoleon? Can we compare Michelangelo with Napoleon? No, we can't
No,
compare
we can compare
Michelangelo with
Michelangelo
Napoleon.
with Napoleon
Why not? Why not? Because they were two
because they were two
completely different kinds
completely different
of
kinds
people
of
who
people
did different things
who did different things
from each other.
to each other.
What must two people or things have if we want to make a comparison between them? What must two people or things have if we want to make a comparison between them? If we want to
If we
make
want
a
to make
comparison
a comparison
between two people or
between two
things,
people
they must
or
have
things,
something
they
in
must
common.
have something in common.
Very good. What do we use ice for? What do we use ice for? We use ice
We
for
use ice
putting in drinks
for putting in
to
rings
cool them, etc.
to cool them extra.
Very good. What am I doing? What am I doing? You're pouring some water
You will pouring some
from a
water
bottle into a
from a
glass.
bottle into a glass.
Very good. Do you think that all the countries of the world will unite one day? Do you think that all the countries of the world will unite one day? Yes or no?
Yes,
I think that all
and
the
discuss
countries of the world
the countries of the
will
world
unite one day.
will unite one day.
Greg, give me a sentence with the word even in it. Give me a sentence with the word even in it, please. He speaks German,
You speak German,
Russian, French,
Russian,
and even
French,
Chinese.
and even Chinese.
He was very impolite.
He was very
He
impolite.
didn't even say hello.
He didn't even say hello.
It's very simple.
It's very simple.
Even a child could understand it.
Even a child
Could understand it.
could understand it.
Greg, do we generally mix sugar with potatoes? Do we generally mix sugar with potatoes? No, we don't
No,
generally
we don't
mix
generally
sugar with
mix
potatoes.
sugar with potatoes.
Do you think a mixture of tea and coffee would make a pleasant drink? Do you think a mixture of tea and coffee would make a pleasant drink? No, I don't think.
No,
A
I
mixture
don't think
of tea
a
and
mixture
coffee
of tea and
would
coffee
make a pleasant drink.
would make
It
a
would
pleasant drink.
make an unpleasant
It would
drink.
make unpleasant drink.
If you mix some red and white paint together, what would you get? If you mix some red and white paint together, what would you get? If I mix some
I
red
mix
and white paint
some red
together,
and white paint together.
I'd get pink paint.
I get pink paint.
Very good. Who cared for you when you were a child? Who cared for you when you were a child? My mother
My
cared for
mother
me
cared for me
when I was a child.
when I was a child.
Very good. Do you think the young should take care of the old? Do you think the young should take care of the old? Yes, I think the
Yes,
young
I think the
should
young
take care
to take
of
care
the old.
of the old.
Do you take good care of your health? Do you take good care of your health? Yes or no?
Yes,
I take good care
I take good
of my
care
health.
of my health.
Who do you care? Do you care what people think or say about you? Do you care what people think or say about you? Yes or no?
Yes,
I care what
I
people
care
think
what people think
or say about me.
or say about me.
Very good. Okay, next. If you were late for a very important appointment, would you take your time? If you were late for a very important appointment, would you take your time? No. If I were
No,
late
if I were late
for a very important
for very
appointment,
important
I
appointment,
wouldn't take my time.
I wouldn't take my time.
I'd hurry.
I'd hurry
Why? Why? Because it's important
because
to
it's
keep
important
appointments
to keep
that
appointments
we've made.
that we meet.
Why is it sometimes a bad thing to hurry? Why is it sometimes a bad thing to hurry? It's sometimes a bad
It's
thing
sometimes
to hurry
bad thing to
because
hurry
we often make
because we
mistakes
often make
when we
mistakes
hurry.
when we hurry.
Greg, would you take your time going home if somebody told you your house was on fire? Would you take your time going home if somebody told you your house was on fire? No, I wouldn't take
No,
my time
I wouldn't take my time
going home
going
if
home
somebody told me
if somebody told me
my house was on fire.
my house was on fire.
I'd hurry.
I'd hurry.
What's the translation of I am in a hurry in Japanese? What's the translation of I am in a hurry in Japanese? The translation of
The
I
translation
am in a
of
hurry
I am in a
in
hurry
Japanese is
in Japanese it's
私は急いでます。
私は急いでます。
Aha, very good. What do the words plenty of mean? What do the words plenty of mean? The words plenty
The
of
word
mean
plenty of me
more than enough.
more than enough.
Do people hurry when they have plenty of time? Do people hurry when they have plenty of time? No. People don't
No,
hurry
people don't hurry
when they have plenty of time.
when they have plenty of time.
They take their time.
They take their time.
What's the opposite of plenty of water? What's the opposite of plenty of water? The opposite of
The
plenty
opposite
of water
of plenty of
is
water
little water
is a little
or
water
not enough water.
or not enough water.
Greg, what's the difference between for and since? What's the difference between for and since? The difference between
The difference
for
between
and since
for and since
is that we use
is that we
the
use
word for
the word for
when we say a period
when
of
we
time,
say a period of time,
whereas we use the
whereas
word
we use
since
the word since
when we say the point
when we say the point
at which the period began.
at which the period began.
Give me some examples of for. Give me some examples of for, please. for half an hour.
For half an hour.
For 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
Now give me some examples of since. Give me some examples of since, please. Since 6 o'clock.
Since 6 o'clock.
Since last June.
Since last June.
Right, how long have you been in that room for? How long have you been in that room for? I've been in this room for...
In this room for
how many? 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Very good. Since when have you been in that room? Since when have you been in that room? I've been in this room
I've been in this room
since 9 a.m.
since 9 a.m.
How long have you lived in your town for? How long have you lived in your town for? I've lived in this town for...
in this town for
how long? How long have you lived there?
20 years.
20 years. Very good.
20 years.
Since when have you lived in that town? Since when have you lived in that town? I've lived in this
I
town
lived in this town
since 2003.
since 2003.
Very good. About how long have you known me for? About how long have you known me for? I've known you
I've known
for
you
about 1 year.
for about 1 year.
Since when have you known me? Since when have you known me? I've known you
I've known
since
you
2002.
since 2002.
Have you been able to speak English for more than 10 years? Have you been able to speak English for more than 10 years? Yes or no?
Yes,
I've been able to
I've
speak
been able
English
to speak English
for more than 10 years.
for more than 10 years.
Have you been able to speak English since you were a young child? Have you been able to speak English since you were a young child? Yes or no?
No,
I haven't been able
I haven't been
to speak
able
English
to
since
speak
I
English
was a young child.
since I was a young child.
Right? What kind of things does a kitchen usually contain? What kind of things does a kitchen usually contain? A kitchen usually contains
It's very
a
contains
fridge, a freezer,
fridge,
a
a
cooker,
freezer,
a
a
sink,
cooker,
etc.
I think, etc.
Does meat last longer in a fridge or a freezer? Does meat last longer in a fridge or a freezer? Meat lasts longer
It lasts
in a
longer
freezer.
in a freezer.
Why do some people like using microwaves? Why do some people like using microwaves? Some people like
Some people
using microwaves
like using microwaves
because they cook food
because they cook food
very quickly.
very quickly.
Did you find English pronunciation a little difficult at the beginning of your studies? Did you find English pronunciation a little difficult at the beginning of your studies? Yes, I found
Yes,
English
I found the English
pronunciation a little
pronunciation
difficult
a little
at the
difficult
beginning of my
at the
studies.
beginning of my studies.
Do you hope your English studies will help your future career? Do you hope your English studies will help your future career? Yes, I hope
Yes,
my
I hope
English studies
my English
will
studies
help my future
will help
career.
my future career.
Very good. Would you lend me some money if I ask you? Would you lend me some money if I ask you? No, I wouldn't
No,
lend you
I wouldn't lend
any
you
money if you ask
any
me.
money if you ask me.
If you lend something to somebody and they didn't return it, what did you do? If you lent something to somebody and they didn't return it, what did you do? If I lent something
If I lend something
to somebody and
to
they
somebody
didn't return it,
and they didn't return it,
I'd ask them to return it.
I'd ask them to return it.
Very good. Okay, next. Would you like to be famous? Would you like to be famous? Yes or no?
No,
I wouldn't like to be famous.
I wouldn't like to be famous.
What's a film star? What's a film star? A film star is a
film star
famous actor
is a famous
or
actor
actress in the
or
cinema
actress
world.
in the cinema world.
Tell me the names of some famous film stars. Tell me the names of some famous film stars, please. The names of
The
some
names
famous film
of some
stars
famous film
are
stars
Tom Cruise,
are Tom Cruise,
Johnny Depp, etc.
Johnny Depp, etc.
Name a few famous people in history. Name a few famous people in history, please. A few famous people
A few famous
in
people
history are
in history are
Shakespeare, Einstein,
Shakespeare,
Michelangelo,
Einstein,
etc.
Michelangelo, etc.
Very good. What's the most industrial city in your country? What's the most industrial city in your country? Tokyo is the most
Tokyo is the
industrial
most
city in my country.
industrial city in my country.
What's the most agricultural region of your country? What's the most agricultural region of your country? Hokkaido is the most
Hokkaido is the
agricultural
most
region
agricultural
of my
region
country.
of my country.
Very good. What do we say when we apologize for doing something wrong? What do we say when we apologize for doing something wrong? When we apologize
We
for
apologize
doing something wrong,
for doing something
we
wrong.
say, I'm sorry.
We say I'm sorry.
Right? If you keep somebody waiting for a long time, should you apologize? If you keep somebody waiting for a long time, should you apologize? Yes. If you keep
Yes.
somebody
If you keep somebody
waiting for a long time,
waiting for a long time,
you should apologize.
you should apologize.
What's the noun of the verb apologize? What's the noun of the verb apologize? The noun of the
The
verb
noun
apologize
of the verb apologize
is apology.
is apology.
How can we help to avoid becoming ill? How can we help to avoid becoming ill? We can help to
We can
avoid
help
becoming
to
ill
avoid becoming ill
by living a healthy life.
by living a healthy life.
Very good. Do you have to bend down if you want to touch your feet? Do you have to bend down if you want to touch your feet? No, I don't have
No,
to bend
I
down
don't have
if
to
I
bend
want
down
to touch my
if I
feet.
to touch my feet,
But it would be
but it will
the
be
easiest way.
the easiest way.
Very good. Which do you think was the best century in history to live in? Which do you think was the best century in history to live in? I think
I think
the 21st century
21st century
was the best century
was the best
in
century
history to live in.
in history to live in.
Wait, do you like the fashion in clothes at the moment? Do you like the fashion in clothes at the moment? Yes or no?
Yes,
I like the fashion
I
in
like
clothes
fashion
at the moment.
in the clothes at the moment.
Very good. Does your school have a gate outside it? Does this school have a gate outside it? Yes or no?
Yes,
This school has a
the
gate
school
outside it.
to the gate outside it.
Very good. Do some people worry too much? Do some people worry too much? Yes, some people
Yes, some people
worry too much.
worry too much.
Are you worried about your future? Are you worried about your future? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'm worried about
I'm
my
worried
future.
about my future.
Why should you not worry if you don't immediately understand some of the grammar in this book? Why should you not worry if you don't immediately understand some of the grammar in this book? I shouldn't worry
I shouldn't worry
if I don't immediately
if I don't
understand
immediately
some of
understand
the grammar in this book
some of the grammar in this
because
book,
I will practice it again
because I will practice
in
again
other lessons
in
and
other
I can
lesson.
study it at home.
I can study it at home.
When we're in a hurry, what must we do? When we're in a hurry, what must we do? When we're in a hurry,
When we are in a hurry,
we must run.
we must run.
What's the furthest you've ever run? What's the furthest you've ever run? The furthest I've ever
Furthest
run is
we ever run. It's
how far? 3 kilometers, 5, 10,
three kilometers.
3 kilometers. Very good. Like about 2 miles. Okay, very good. When do we use the present continuous? When do we use the present continuous? We use the present
Use
continuous
the present
for
continuous
an action that
for an
is in
action
progress
that
now.
is in progress now.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I am speaking English now.
I am speaking English now.
When do we use the past continuous? When do we use the past continuous? We use the
We
past
use
continuous
the past continuous
for an action
for an
that
action
was in progress
that was in
at a
progress
particular time in the past.
at a particular time in past.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. I was speaking English at
I was
this time
speaking English
yesterday.
at this time yesterday.
Were you chatting to anybody when I came into the room at the beginning of the lesson? Were you chatting to anybody when I came into the room at the beginning of the lesson? Yes or no?
Yes,
I was chatting
I was
with
chatting
somebody
with somebody
when you came into the room
when you came into the room
at the beginning of the lesson.
at the beginning of the lesson.
Very good. Were the students sitting or standing when I left the classroom at the end of the last lesson? Were the students standing or sitting when I left the classroom at the end of the last lesson? The students were
The
sitting
students were sitting
when you left the classroom
when you left the
at
classroom
the end of the last lesson.
at the end of the last letter.
Was it raining while you were coming to school today? Was it raining while you were coming to school today? No, it wasn't
No,
raining
it wasn't raining
when I was coming
when I must
to
come
school today.
to school today.
Very good.